Brian Spencer. I'm one of the senior engineers at Qualcomm Innovation Centers, QUIC. So I've got my slides here. So I'm going to try to keep this interactive. So please ask questions as we go. Is everyone familiar with the Snapdragon MDP 8660 device? So if you've walked around the show floor out there, you've seen that we're having these form factor devices. I don't have one right now in my hand, so unfortunately. But there are 8660 dual-core processor, and they're being sold through a company called B Square. And they have all of the bells and whistles you would ever want in a Snapdragon device. You can access it's 1.5 gigahertz. And why develop on it? Because it's cutting-edge technology, 1.5 gigahertz dual-core. It's our 13-megapixel camera. It has full sensor support, so accelerometers, gyroscopes, compass, everything you would want. OS upgrades, so from the Gingerbread software, you can move up to future softwares as they come out. So this is a picture of the device, and you'll see it powering all of our demos out there. So the WebTech in AllJoyn, on our 3D displays powered for the gaming platforms. You'll be able to see this dual core in action on this developer platform. So as I said, it's 1.5 gigahertz asynchronous dual core. So is everyone familiar with what an asynchronous dual core is? So an asynchronous dual core means that both cores can access and function independently. So what we do is to optimize power and conserve for our chipsets is we disable one of the cores and turn it on so that we can get the best power performance and the best experience on your mobile device. So it's a 13 megapixel camera, which is very powerful, all being powered through our processor. Sure. Yeah, so they're both 1.5 dual cores, and we turn them on and off to save battery performance and really gain a lot of power from it. So this is our 8660 Snapdragon processor. So yeah, that's our CPU. So Snapdragon is the core processor that powers the Android devices and other devices on market right now. So our 8X55 processor, which we also have an MDP for as well, and that's our mobile developer platform. That has our same chip that's powering Windows 7 right now for the Windows mobile platform, powering Android, and can power a slew of other different operating systems. It's a single Scorpion processor with dual cores. So the question is the dual core, is it two Snapdragon cores side by side? It's a single chip. It's a true dual-core processor. We just have the power to turn on and off one of the cores. And so that way we really optimize for the power and performance. So one of the great things about the MDP that you'll want to take advantage of is there are no 8660 processors in market right now. There will be shortly. It's been announced, there's roadmaps. So you can take this Snapdragon MDP and start developing ahead of time. So when a handset hits the market, you're ready to go with your application, fully optimized, ready to take advantage of the market. So it has 1080p video encoding and decoding. So you'll be able to do any H.264 encoding and decoding simultaneously. It has an HDMI out, so you can power a display in 1080p quality. So you can see that at some of the demos out there. We have our devices hooked up to the screen, powering in 1080p. So if you really want to develop your application and really create a neat experience, you can develop this again ahead of time before it's in the market.
And is that accessible through the SDKs? The ability to decode the video like that, or
yeah, so there was
Android SDKs, or through?
Yeah, so the question is if the H.264 encoding and decoding is available through the SDK. And so there was a lab earlier where one of my colleagues on the ecosystem spoke about H.264 encoding. We have a solution on developer.qualcomm.com, QDevNet, where you can download sample code that'll tell you how to access that. So you can really take advantage of it on this platform and other MDPs that we have, the 8X55, which is our predecessor chip, and utilize that to the full extent. So yes, it does call into IOMax. You can control it. You can pass in a feed of raw bytes, and it'll spit out the encoded concept.
And is that a separate Snapdragon? Is that an SDK from Snapdragon, or is that?
No, so it's part of the Android framework, so you would compile your code into it. If you look at the sample, that'll give you all the information you'll need. So it has the Adreno 220 processor, which is our fastest CPU or GPU to date. So it has all the bells and whistles to handle the 3D animations that you've seen, powering a 3D display, and again, all the gaming that you'll see out there on the floor on the MDPs is powered by that Adreno 220. I mentioned sensor support. So we have all of these sensors here in there. And one of the great things is that we roll out through B-Square software upgrades. So you don't just buy your device and that's what you get. You can promote and ask for bug fixes. You can express that you need a feature to B-Square. And that'll trickle down into QUIC, Qualcomm Innovation Center. And we can go from there and try to make those changes and really support you. And then if you have issues and B-Square has a fix available, they can push the update to you and you'll be able to upgrade your device. And as new Android flavors come out, you'll be able to take your device from currently on Gingerbread on 8660 to Honeycomb or the next versions of Android Ice Cream. Everything in the future, you've got one device that you can do that from. And so for the 8X55, we have upgrades. That device has the Froyo software as well as Gingerbread. So you can take one device and move between the softwares to really get your application to test on everything. So you have one device that functions across the board. Oh, and one other thing that we have on here that's exclusive, which I'm going to talk about, is our EPM. So we have an embedded power management system that sits on the power rails of the device. So you can use an application called Trepin, which will allow you to power profile your application to really take advantage of Qualcomm hardware and technology, so that you can write your application to function on the phone all day long while still having the users use their phone as a phone. So I mentioned this already, there's some tool support. So a lot of people are concerned when they have a device that they need to download all these extra tools and special tools for this. If you know how to write an Android application, you can use this MDP exactly as you would as a commercial device or any other Android device. So everything you know about Android development directly applies to this platform. There are no extra changes to it. You can use ADB to push and install applications. You can use ADB Logcat to grab your logs. You can use an integration with IDEs. And then if you want to do your own custom Android development work at the software, you can use Fastboot and custom flash your own images to the device. So you can make changes to the kernel, make changes to the Android stack itself, and really take advantage of your device to do all of your prototyping efforts. And we have tools on developer.qualcomm.com QDevNet, such as the Adreno Profiler, Augmented Reality Sdk, and Trepin Power Management, as I just spoke about. So you can download all these tools, use them with the device. Adreno Profilers for the 3D gaming and 2D gaming to really take advantage and optimize that. And there'll be a lab after mine that'll show you how to use that tool. And then the Augmented Reality SDK is what's being shown, and I don't know if you were present at the keynote, but it's where you can impose an artificial reality onto an image in the real user space. So if you watch football games or anything like that, you see that yellow line that comes across. That's augmented reality. So we have the power to do that on the mobile device, and you can use this MDP to take advantage of it.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't get a chance to ask in the last session.
Sure.
About the augmented reality, because they showed the Unity extension for augmented reality to make it easy. So but that we don't get that when we download the augmented reality SDK. Unity 2 needs to buy separate.
Yeah, so the question was about the Unity extension of augmented reality. I'm not as familiar in that area, but if you heard that you would have to get that down and acquire it separately, then that would be the case. So I think you could email or post a question on the QDevNet forum and ask that question, and someone would respond and get back to you.
I think so Umberto Canarsa did a presentation earlier, and so he's going to be presenting, I think, tomorrow again at 2:30. Ask him the question then, but I believe it's a separate piece of software, and I think we have links that go into it.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, there's upgrades to the Android OS. So the Snapdragon MDP can be purchased from B-Square, as I said already. I have their site listed out here if you want to take some notes. Or as Doug mentioned, the slides will be up on the portal, on the Uplinq portal later. So what you would do is you would register your device with a serial number through B-Square. You would then have access to all of the updates that they provide, as well as documentation. So how to set up the drivers for your device if you have any problems with your PC, different documentation, a user guide, a quick start guide, as well as the OS upgrades. So you not only have the device, but you have support of future upgrades. So when something's broken, voice it, express your concern, get it fixed, have the new OS installed, and you will be up and running in order to complete your application development. So you also get an hour of support from B-Square. So that way, if you have any issues with your device, you can reach out to them. They can help you get set up and figure out all your problems and really interact with you. So this isn't just a device you purchase, you use, you have problems, you set it aside. You would take this device, do all of your development work, use it as your core for your application development, And it's all in Android, and it's on the 8660 chipset. So when those devices hit the market, and even current devices, you'll be able to really have the best application. So again, I mentioned there's the Fastboot side of things. So it's an unlocked device. So you have root access. You can push anything to the device, make changes to the OS. You can download the source code from Code Aurora forums, codeaurora.org. That's where we host through Quick as a contributor to the site. And you can download the Android source itself. So you can make your kernel level changes, use Fastboot to push over a new boot image to the device. You can make system level changes in the user space, push those modules to the device. So it's not just for application development. You can also do some Android work as well if you're a tinkerer and really like to get in there and understand the OS itself. Any questions about that? Yes, sir?
You don't have source code for the bootloader, is that correct?
We have it for the Android bootloader, but not for the core of the bootloaders. So that is right. But if you wanted to change the bootloader, you could go in there. It's the Android little kernel bootloader for Fastboot. And so that's all open source. You can make changes to that bootloader if you wish and flash that image to the device.
Android little?
It's little kernel, yes. Yeah, and so that's, if you go to Code Aurora forum, that code is in bootloader/bootable is the path. So if you look at the Git repository, you'll be able to find it there. And so maybe afterwards I can show you and we can talk one-on-one. So the question was where to find the bootloader for Android. And so one of the things too, that when you receive your device, since we've been pushing upgrades to B Square, you'll be able to look in the phone info, and that will give you the tag that you will use for the Git repository in order to pull down the Android source. So you have the code that's running on your device and then can make changes and push that to the device in order to have the best experience for your Android OS development work if you choose so. So again, I mentioned you'd have a quicker time to market. This is the first 1.5 gigahertz Snapdragon dual-core processor. So what does that mean? If you write an application that's optimized for this experience, for this platform, you will be one of the first to market on this. So you'll have an edge over everyone. You can use a hardware solution instead of a software solution. So a lot of times people do video encoding and decoding all in software, or they go ahead and do some audio processing all in their software. Well, you can use this device to take advantage of our hardware solutions, such as H.264 encoding and decoding simultaneously. So you'll be able to use the hardware solution to gain better battery performance and be able to use the CPU to have a richer UI. So you can really take advantage of everything on the device and not waste a single bit of processing power. And so again, you'll be able to optimize before they're in the market. So when users comment on your application, they'll be able to say this is a fantastic app and it runs so well. So the support system, I said that you get 1 hour of support through B Square with the purchase of the device, and then you can get additional support from them if needed. But you also have QDevNet. So you can download those SDKs, download the samples. There's a forum section. We have blogs where we talk about different technologies, and you can download all of the different samples just to take advantage of it. And we'll be hosting more as the years go on. So really use that site to gain information about current devices and to download the SDKs and really get involved with the device that you're using. So kind of this is what I've wrapped up for this point, and I just want to really ask if there's any more questions about the device, because I can keep talking about it as much as you guys would like.
What's the approximate cost for the...
Yeah, so the 8660 right now is $1,350 through B Square, $1,350. The 8X55, our predecessor processor, that is $995. And again, you get the support. It's an unlocked device. You get access to future upgrades. So when new Android versions come out, you're ready to go. You just use this single device, flash up to the current OS, check your application, flash back, do your Android work, make sure your application's solid, and then test it across the board. So any device that comes out on those OSs, you're all set and ready to go. So what are some of your guys' experience with your development work, may I ask? What are the areas that you're having problems with?
Do you have any debugging tools for NDK, C++ on target?
So the question is for development tools for debugging the NDK layer. So we don't have anything explicitly set up for that, but I would mention that you should use the ADB logcat in Android and kind of grab that instance. You could put over an build in your own debugger into your code and build that in there. So that would be one way where you would want to take the Android code, build in a debugger into the software so that you could access it later. So you'd have to do some legwork on that, but you could debug it in that manner. So anybody else with any other development hurdles that they've had, any problems with APIs that they're having issues with?
Can you talk a little bit about the sensors you have? So what is happening?
Yeah, so I'm going to go back up here to where the sensors are that's supported on the device. So haptics is the vibration feedback. So when you touch an area of the screen and you get that feedback, that's the haptic sensor working right there. And so this has everything. I mean, it's got the pressure sensor, the temperature, the 3D accelerometer. So when you move the device, you get all of that. It's got a compass, GPS support. Actually, yeah, I don't have GPS on there, so GPS is supported as well as it has 4 microphones on the, or 5 microphones. Sorry, you can access in the Android source. You can access 4 microphones simultaneously, so you can get each of those 4 streams to do your noise cancellation or whatever you would like to do with them. So it's very powerful in that regard, and a lot of devices on the market don't have all 4. So you can really use everything of the device to make your future application.
But like, how many of the commercial phones are likely to have 4 microphones?
I don't know that stat off. I don't know that stat off the top of my head. But as devices come out, they will include more microphones to do better noise cancellation. And so this platform has all the capabilities to prototype those solutions. So, yeah, again, this has one of the things maybe Doug pointed out that I didn't mention is it's Wi-Fi support and Bluetooth support, standard in the device. So you've got access to all of that. You could download and run the AllJoin technology on that, so which is a peer-to-peer system. So you can use this to add the. So with AllJoin, there's a daemon that you need to run on the device in order to have Bluetooth connectivity. So because the device is rooted, you can just push that over there, start it as root. Any other process you need started as root, you can run them all and have that ability to really create a good interaction and then develop your app before it's built in and on future devices. Yeah, so there's one thing, it's a good question about the 3G connectivity. So the device is capable of doing it. We have it turned off, and because this is a developer platform, it hasn't gone through carrier certification. So you would have to provide the correct documentation from a carrier to B Square, and then they would be able to turn on your 3G network. So either be it CDMA or GSM technology. So it has the correct technology. You would just need to do the legwork to enable it. So again, you can buy these all from bsquare.com. And again, QDevNet's there for all your blogging needs, support, and your questions that you have. And we're there to provide you samples and really allow you to utilize this device for your end-all solution.
Any other questions? And then Brian will also be available. We finished early, so he'll be available for questions here or outside there. Also, I want to encourage everybody, there's 2 presentations coming up that Brian touched on. One is the Trepton Power Profiler. So you've written your app, you're killing the battery, you can't figure out why. This app will help you understand where we're using battery and where you can be making some trade-offs to increase battery life. So that's going to be from 4 to 4:30. That's a really cool one. And then from 4:30 to 5 is the Adreno Profiler, which will talk a little bit more about our Adreno GPU and some of the tools we have to help with its performance as well.
Yeah, and I would really encourage you to stay and listen to the Trepton talk, because the Trepton tool is exclusive just to the Snapdragon MDP. These 2 devices, the 8660 as well as the 8X55. So I mentioned we have dedicated circuitry that sits on the power rails, so you don't need to invest in technology to manage to prove that your application doesn't consume a lot of power. You can just run this application, it will launch your device, and you can profile it end to end to gauge the exact current that it's utilizing. And you'll be able to pick from each of the things. So if you have a Wi-Fi application, you want to gauge the network use and how much that uses from the Wi-Fi chip. Well, you can explicitly look at that current and track that in your application. So if you're not keeping your sockets open and you're doing a lot of network tear down and bring up, then that will show what the amount of current, because you're creating new sockets and you're not keeping them alive. So you'll be able to see that visually and understand at a circuitry level for power consumption what's happening with your application.
Which other subsystems do you specifically have that visibility?
So we have it for the you might have to correct me on all this later when you talk with the Treppen guys. But we have one for the Wi-Fi module. We have it for the CPU, the GPU. I believe the Bluetooth sensor is on there as well.
Display.
The display. And there's one other one that I'm missing.
Well,
there's about six or 8 points that you can choose specifically for the current. And then you can also monitor. It's not just power profiling, but you can monitor your network traffic, your actual CPU clock usage cycles. There's a lot of other bells and whistles to it. I think there's there's at least over 80 different data points that you can monitor. So and I think it's even higher than that, so I'm just kind of understating it. But it's a very powerful tool that really allows you to understand at each instance what your application is doing and how it interacts with the hardware.
And that's on both the 8660 and the 8655?
That's on both targets, yes. Both of our so the question was, is Treppen running on both the 8X55 and the 8660, and that is correct, it is.
And how often is that? Is that usually not deployed in unpaid applications?
No, so because this is our developer platform, we've added to the board our dedicated hardware specifically for this. So in a commercial device, you will not find this. This is exclusive to the MDP program.
You don't have to wire up to your device with like an electrical engineer, and this is all built right in. It's actually on the device itself, running, very easy to use.
And again, on QDevNet, there's documentation, user guide for the Treppen software, as well as the APK that you can download. Now, it will not power profile on other commercial devices, and it is only for the MDP. So even though you can download the APK, it's only intended for the Snapdragon mobile developer platform. So okay, I think that's about it, unless there's anybody that has any questions, or if you have any concerns or would like to know more about B-Square. They're actually here over across the way. You can go see them. They're using some of their stuff to market the device. And again, I encourage you to walk around all the demos that are being shown on the floor here in the middle and see what's being developed on the MDP, the 8660, and really, figure out what's going on and how you can take advantage of it.
Yeah, if you saw Paul's keynote today when he's running his demos, those were all run off of the mobile development platform. They're incredibly powerful. They're powering some amazing demos out there in the middle. Check it out. It's really cool.
Yeah, so it was doing the 3D display, powering in 1080p out. Everything that was being shown there was from an MDP, except for the Pac-Man racer, which was on the flyer.
The Micron booth has an